Hi, I'm Chris from the Mobile Internet Resource Center, here to show off a very interesting new bit of gear we've just gotten in to start playing with. This is the Netgear 4G LTE modem. So this is, you can think of this as kind of like a hotspot without a battery and with an Ethernet port. And for certain use cases, this is actually pretty interesting, because if you're going to be plugging in a hotspot full-time into a router inside of your RV or on your boat, you don't necessarily want something that's got a battery that's constantly in a perpetual state of charge, and well, there might be some interesting flexibility about this. So Netgear has just recently brought this out. They've actually got 3 models of this. They're almost identical. There's the base model, model 1120, which sells for about $120, which we'll be talking about here. They also have 2 other variants that are probably for just particular use cases. So they've got a version for $140 that is powered by power over Ethernet. So you can, if you for some reason wanted to have the modem far away from you where you have power, you didn't want a power supply, you wanted to power it over an Ethernet cable, you could do that. Probably not normally applicable. And then they've got a version with 2 Ethernet ports, and when I open this up I'll show you that. The version with 2 Ethernet ports is kind of designed for failover at a business. If you've got your regular DSL or cable modem line coming in and that goes down, you can instantly switch to the cellular connection. Again, for most mobile users that's probably not a fit, because you'll be probably using this with a different router. But let's open this up and see what's inside the box. You know, I do want to point out on the back, there are suggested markets: vacation homes, kiosks, pop-up stands, and food trucks. So an ideal device if you're, got a food truck, which I think every RV or yacht is technically a food truck because we cook in them, right? Okay, let's open this up. Quick start. You got to install your own SIM card. These are unlocked devices, so they'll work with any carrier, but well, it's only supports LTE bands 2, 4, 5, and 12, which means it really is kind of limited to AT&T, T-Mobile, and a little bit of Verizon, but definitely suboptimal there, and will not work on Sprint at all. Okay, let's see what's in the box we've got here. Basic Ethernet cable, basic power supply. Power supply puts out 12 volt, 1 amp, so actually you could probably easily just cut this and hardwire it into regular RV power supply. Great. A simple quick start guide. And then there's not a lot to this little box. Okay, so we have, it's about palm size. It's actually quite a bit bigger. This is the Unite Explorer hotspot, so we're going to kind of compare and contrast these. It's quite a bit bigger and actually quite a bit lighter because it doesn't have a battery inside of it. You got, looks like signal strength on the top, a light to indicate power and indicate Ethernet is connected. On the bottom, you've got a little guide to putting in the SIM card that it takes. There's a little lid. This is not a nano SIM. It looks like it's a mini SIM that you'll have to put into this. You've got your default connection and password on the bottom. And then on the back, you've got the power input. We love this, 2 TS9 inputs for antennas. So this is a perfect to pair with like the Netgear MIMO antenna that we've been such fans of. An on-off switch, reset switch, and then a gigabit Ethernet port. So this is, unlike a mobile hotspot like the Unite Explorer, this makes a Wi-Fi hotspot and you connect your devices to it via Wi-Fi. You can tether via USB to a router that it will then share it out in other fashions or over Ethernet. This does not make a Wi-Fi hotspot at all. The only output it has is Ethernet. So you have to plug this into into a regular router, and then that will let you use your cellular connection to any router that can take an Ethernet input, so basically any router. Now, one important distinction with this is the Ethernet port is you can treat this just like you would a cable modem or a DSL modem, which means you can plug this in as an upstream internet source to any residential router. You do not need to have a special mobile router that knows how to tether over USB to a mobile hotspot. So if you've got a favorite home router that you like, or you're just trying to not invest in something that is more mobile friendly, this is an interesting way to get cellular connectivity hooked up to your existing router infrastructure, because it will work with anything. Makes for interesting for RVers if you want to have multiple sources connected at once. Like if you've got a Wi-Fi ranger, you could have one device tethered via USB, one device hooked up via Ethernet, and perhaps another carrier hooked up via Wi-Fi as WAN. So you've got more inputs, more possibilities. Because it's connected via Ethernet, there's no wireless interference, no downsides to that. And again, in this case, it's a plus that it doesn't have a battery. Now the downsides of this versus the Unite Explorer is this is basically a much more primitive LTE modem. It is only a category 4 LTE modem, max theoretical speed of 150 megabits per second down. Does not have LTE advanced carrier aggregation. As I said, it only supports LTE bands 2, 4, 5, and 12, so it's basically limited to AT&T and T-Mobile, and you're going to miss out on the fastest possible speeds that you'd get from some additional bands, and in particular from carrier aggregation. For example, this Unite Explorer is a Category 9 device on AT&T, which means it can have a max theoretical speed of 450 megabits per second, 3 times carrier aggregation. It can connect to 3 different bands at once. This can only connect to 1 band at once, and it's going to be in the slow lane relative. But in practical use, you're still way faster than a lot of people might need. We're going to put them do a little bit of testing head-to-head, see how they work. Officially, this is only sold as being compatible with AT&T, but from what we've read, it will work on T-Mobile just fine, and a little bit on Verizon. It is missing out on support for Verizon's band 13, which is Verizon's primary LTE band, but Verizon uses also bands 4 and 2, so we'll see if we can find places that this will connect with Verizon as well. And so that's the Netgear LTE modem. Take a look at it.